Hi, it's Sports for Dummies. In today's episode, we are going to preview the Geelong Cats for the 2024 season. Johnny, let's get into it.
Very excited for this one. I guess the question that everyone will be asking is, and I feel like we've been doing this with Geelong for a while, are they finally done? This is the first time they missed the finals after winning the premiership. They've never missed the finals twice in a row. Last time they did that was 2002, 2003. Our lifetimes, for the bulk of it, Geelong have been the premier club in the AFL. Like, they had the 07 to 11 era, and then they, had the post, the Scott era. Last time they missed the finals, they went on to make 3 or 4 prelim finals, and they finally won the granny last year. Naturally thought everyone, they would win again. But, Joel Selwood leaving, spiritual leader, on and off the field. They had a couple of injuries to, key players. That makes sense, but are they too old now?
Are they done? Well, you were saying off air, they're 27.4 years of age is the average for their team. They are the oldest team in the league. One would assume, they've got a lot of experience, but to finish the 2023 season on 10 wins, 12 losses, and the 1 draw in 12th position, it's just not really where you would hope to be. Given the nature of their team,
they
had what they've had, their successes in the past,
and we will go through. They did have a lot of injuries. Their team never really was on the park ever together. But what we will do is, I guess, by the end of this video, we will answer the question: Do we think they're finished?
Yeah. Well, we'll get straight into the team analysis, which will start with the back line, which you've got a pretty solid. You got the Zach Guthrie, De Koning, Kolajasny. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Kolajasny.
Yep. And then you've got Henry, Stewart, O'Connor.
See, they've got good players in there, but they're very undersized.
Yeah.
And Mark O'Connor is a massive liability. No clue. Like, he's got no awareness. He's not good with ball in hand. The fact that he's a starting halfback, I know Geelong supporters will be, the ones that I know will be very disappointed that he's their halfback line. Ironically, the best game he ever played was the 2022 grand final, but that was pretty easy for them. It was pretty bruise-free. And Kolajasny, he makes a lot of mistakes. So Tom Stewart's an absolute gun.
He won their BNF last year.
Second time BNF. He's the best attacking defender in the league. Henry's a good player. De Koning's going to just improve. He's a great...
Call him? De Koning?
De Koning?
De Koning?
De Koning?
De Koning.
Doesn't matter. Does it?
He's 5 years in. He's 43 games into his... is it 5 years? No, that doesn't sound right. 43 games into his career.
So he's in year 3.
Year 3. It's his top... he's their best big man sort of defender at the minute. They don't really have anyone else that's...
Stewart's their best defender.
Yes, and so in terms of their height...
He's definitely their biggest.
He's matching up against the big boy. If he comes up against Carlton, he's taking Curnow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Kolajasny and Mark O'Connor, it is actually, even though they got some good players, it's pretty vulnerable, and that could get exposed during the year.
Yeah. Then you go through the centre. You've got Bleakavs. What is with us today?
Bleakavs.
Kev Guthrie and Max Holmes, which, Guthrie, Max Holmes, and the run, the run that they've got. Bleakavs can run wild. The guy's he's a jet. He's an Adonis, tall player, runs the field like there's no tomorrow. Max Holmes has got a lot of promise in him, a lot of speed too. And Cam Guthrie, he's a big hit back in, isn't he?
It's a big in. It was funny during, Geelong's really good run. I always had him as their 3rd or 4th best, midfielder. However, they missed him last year with Selwood going out. Cam Guthrie doesn't really hurt teams, but he gets the football and he keeps the ball off, stops the other teams from getting it. And he quite frequently gets, that 30 possession. So they really missed that. Yeah. Max Holmes, if he can go to another level, he's a great runner.
He's got what it takes to be a star.
If he can up his game, I think it will be good for the Cats.
Yeah. Then you go into the half forward line. You've got... is it Brad Close? I'm pretty certain it is. And then you got Jeremy Cameron. What a superstar.
Yep.
And then you've got Ollie Henry. So you've got their forward line's impeccable.
So Close was really good in their premiership year. You know, he rolls up high half forward up the ground. Jeremy Cameron's an interesting one. He kicked 53 last year, but I reckon he kicked half by round 7. We were calling him, and me included, the best player in the league. I saw him personally against the Blues absolutely tear us apart. Single-handedly, 24 touch. He had touches. He was marking the back line, and he was kicking the goals. And then Ollie Henry, who's just come from Collingwood, all this pressure. He was hated for leaving the Pies. And he kicked 41 in his first year too. Really good as a lead up, that medium forward lead up. He's got a sense for where the goals are, and he's a great set shot.
Well, that's what the Cats have.
They've got a good forward line.
We'll get through the rest of it. So then you've got the forward. You got it's how do you pronounce that? Stangl, Hawkins, and Myers. So I mean, you've got two very, very good. Myers is a very crafty kick, very good player, knows how to get the ball. Stangl's he's a gun. And then you got Hawkins, your traditional forward.
So Myers
kicks his bag.
So, I mean, Hawkins is one of the best forwards that we've seen in our lifetime.
Yep.
How he's able to protect the space. He's a great set shot. Myers will actually play more that high half forward. He actually won the assists award for goal assists. So he had a great year. And Stengel, we know on the premiership side, he's dangerous in front of goals. So their forward line's definitely their key. There's a lot of talent there. And it's going to be hard for sides. You know, they got that perfect, mixture of size, pace. That's where sides will struggle against them.
Well, alone you had Jeremy Cameron, Hawkins and Ollie Henry together. I mean, Cameron had 53.
Yep.
Hawkins had, I think, 49.
Yep.
And Ollie had what?
41.
41. So you do the math. That's 90 plus 53, 143 between three players. That's pretty impressive.
It's very good.
It's a good spread, and it shows that that's, probably a very key thing. Then we'll go into the following. You've got Reece Stanley, Dangerfield and Atkins. That's pretty solid.
So, I mean, Stanley's not a great ruckman. Like he was serviceable. He's okay. He's okay. I mean, he can definitely be exploited by the best ruckman. Dangerfield's an interesting one because I think very highly of him. At his best, he was the best player in the comp. He was amazing in that grand final. I actually reckon he should have won the Norm Smith because that first quarter he really set the tone with how he hit the contest.
Yeah.
And then Atkins is, he's a brute. He's a junkyard player. Love to see Dangerfield back, at full flight this year. He did miss 5 games this year, and there was lack of continuity in his game.
100%. Then interchange, you probably have Mitch Duncan, Zach Tui on the bench. Gee, that's pretty big, isn't it? And then you've got, who's that guy? Brun.
So if he's an up and run, like if he can hit him like Max Holmes, I think for that younger players, if he can step up, they'll go a long way for Geelong, replacing the players that they've missed.
Yep. Then you have Gary Rowan, who's an exceptional forward to come on when he has to. He can play bigger than he is. And then you got sub with Clark.
Rowan's an interesting one because he's a pressure forward. Good mark, good kick. Great defensively. I had massive issues with him before the final series in 2022.
Why is that?
Because his averages in big games was just non-existent. But he put them to bed.
I think he turned that.
He
final
turned that
series
well.
on,
He's so important. He's almost like a barometer when he's going. So the Cats are good, and then you've got Bowes, Parfitt, Buse, Mullen. Like they've got some players. They're a good side, the Cats. They do have there is a bit of mixture of old and young and in that middle thing. So, I mean, you look at it on paper, it's a really good side.
100%.
It's a really good side.
You know what's funny? It looks like a premiership side.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. You look at Collingwood. Collingwood, what did you say? 27 points.
27.1. So there's actually not much difference. The difference is, I guess, those older players, which Collingwood have. So they're very similar. So there's no reason Geelong can't get back there.
No. Now we're going to go straight into the ins and outs for this coming year. Now, do you want to lead the way?
Yeah.
With the big in?
So I mean, they've recruited a couple of midfielders, Mitch Edwards. at pick 32, Lawson Humphreys at pick 63, Sean Manaher at 36, midfielder, mature age, 26, so congratulations. But their biggest pick is pick 11, Connor O'Sullivan. Key defender, reads the ball well. He goes for his grabs.
He's a big
seen
boy
a couple of highlights. He can spoil when he needs to, but like Jacob Wiedering actually reads the ball really well and can take a good grab. You can see in the highlights. So yeah, that was really good for them. The outs, they got rid of, Jonathan Segler had been on the list for a few years, retired. Sam Menegola, great servant of the club, had beautiful skills off the half-back line. Xavier Radaglia, and this is where O'Sullivan can, if he develops well, jump in. I think this is a great getting rid of him. He's a tremendous athlete, but you can tell he didn't grow up with the game. One-on-one, he's pushed over the ball for a guy that size. He's easily isolated. Unless he gets a full run at it, I think that's a great move, getting rid of him. Riccardi, who was a father-son, delisted. Sam Simpson, delisted. Isaac Smith, what a career he had.
What a star. 4
premierships. And a Norm Smith. I actually reckon he's got a case to be the greatest wingman of all time. And then Cooper White was also delisted. So there's been a little bit of turnover. They've picked up a few players in the draft. And I think if Connor O'Sullivan is the player that he's going to be, they can add to that, I guess, short back line. They've got rid of, some dregs of the list, which I think they're good moves.
And yeah, their injury list is pretty clear at the minute.
Yep,
they're
good.
Coming in to what seems to be, prior to having this conversation, I'd placed, Geelong well and truly probably out of the finals, going through and absolutely, crunching their list and understanding where they're currently at with their injuries, their ins, their outs. They're starting to shape up. You hear a squad like that and you're like...
On paper, they've got a really good list.
Sexy list.
It's a sexy list. They get 8 games at Skilled Stadium. I mean...
They get the 9?
Going into
9 games?
I think it's 8.
No, 9.
They get 9. Oh, well, there you go.
Just going to add one
easy.
More.
Geelong supporters, don't whinge about not getting enough home games. You get kissed on the dick. At the start of the year, they were premiership favourites. So There's no reason that they can't come back. They've got the talent. Can they stay healthy? And with an ageing list, that is always, Tom Hawkins, for example, like he's on his last legs. Patrick Dangerfield, he's at the end of his career. But apart from that, they're pretty good. Like they've got that mature, sort of age, players that are really good. So they actually look really good.
They do. Now, to their strengths and their weaknesses, what would you say their strength? And don't give me their weakness could be used as a strength business.
So their strength is their forward line.
Yep. Scoring power.
And when you've got players like Cameron, Hawkins, Dangerfield, these are out and out legends of the game.
Yep.
And a fit side around you, I think they're fantastic. I think that's their strengths.
Well, they're a beautiful team to watch too. The
They're
way
fun
they
to
move
watch.
the ball, the way Cameron, mate, the way he crafts his goals is just ridiculous. He can take a game on, he can turn it on its head. Hawkins can do the same. I mean, it's so rare to see, aside from Curnow, I wouldn't say that there's that traditional forward, and Tex Walker. They're the 3 that I, have up there in that top tier. And but Cameron is just so creative. But then, like you said, you can put Danger down forward. He's just a bull.
He's a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
He's just so powerful.
But then you can put Gary Rowan. You can put... Correct. Henry's going to kick his bag. Like it's a ridiculous team.
Their strength is definitely it's a powerful forward line. And to your comment, Geelong are really good to watch. From 16 to 21, Geelong have always had the best list in the league.
Yeah.
The problem is they moved the ball, possession football really slow, and then bomb it long. Hawkins was dealing with 4 or 5. Defenders, it was easy to shut that down. And also their mentality going into finals. their record in first quarters in some of those finals, I think there's 4 or 5 where they lost the prelim to Sydney, Adelaide, Melbourne. 3 of those games, they were smashed early. They were 5-6 goals down at quarter time. So the game was over. What they did in 2022, about halfway through the year, they flipped the switch and just went quick. And isolated, moved the ball around. They didn't bomb it long, and they couldn't be stopped. I mean, they beat Sydney by 80 points.
Yeah.
So if they go back to, quick ball movement, they're going to be hard to stop.
Well, that is, I mean, they constantly kick over 100 points.
Yep.
That's their thing. They know how to score. I think their key strengths are just purely their midfield and their forward line are just really solid, and they can move both ways. They can go into the forward. You've just got a lot of transition. There's a lot of birds in the background. Then we'll go into their weakness. I strongly believe you looked at the back line. There was 2 players that just really stand out to be there that probably shouldn't, and the lack of height to man up against, if you've got a team that has the 2 key forwards, it's quite a hard one. I think what O'Sullivan will do for them, though, I mean, what was he, 189 or 190?
190.
Yeah, 190. That's a big get, and that'll be a helpful thing for them because at the
198. Sorry,
198. I thought he was. Yeah,
198.
He's going to be matching up against that number 1, or that number 2. De Koning, I'm sure, will take the number 1, and then as he gets better with time, with age, I think he'll do really well. So that definitely helps. That pickup was very intentional. I think that's their one missing piece on their chessboard that isn't really working for them. But I think now it'll free up, Tom Stewart and the other guys to actually play their role. And it might kick out the likes of, like you said, those 2 O'Connor or Kolodjasny, they'll have to be fighting for a spot.
All on the weaknesses, Kolodjasny, O'Connor, Buse, I don't think they should be in their best 22.
No.
I wouldn't be O'Connor is a liability on any side. Kolodjasny, it's funny. I actually like the look of him as a footballer, but he just dishes up dribble. It's just all the time. It's I finally feel like he starts to get going, and then you see him play. He makes mistakes. He drops marks.
Yeah.
Awareness can be, but then when he looks good, he looks good. But I've had enough on that. So there's a couple of dregs on that list still to get rid of. And another weakness which is their strength. It could be their age.
I don't think it's a weakness for them.
Okay.
But I do understand it's a weakness if they don't factor it in, and then all of a sudden, the time creeps on, players retire, players move to clubs. If they don't have a good squad, it's kind of like how you look at Collingwood. They're very close in age, but you've got 2 of their superstars are very young. So their superstars at the moment are fairly old.
Yep.
Cameron, Danger,
Hawkins and Dangerfield are the old ones.
Yeah. So you look at that though, but you take out Danger out of that team, it becomes a different team. You take out Cameron, you take out Hawkins.
So it's a
completely different team now.
Yeah, especially if you take Danger out of that midfield.
Who's going to be the wrecking ball going through?
And this is where it comes to coming back to strengths and weaknesses. Well, weaknesses, Geelong were 11th were ranked 11th for centre clearances, the differential, and 16th for contested possession differential. So they were beaten in the midfield last year. Well, and that makes sense. Selwood left.
Yep.
Dangerfield missed 5 games and was never at his full best. And Cam Guthrie missed a lot of football. So having those 2 back surely evens up the contest going into the year.
Guthrie and Danger, like you said, very good at getting contested ball.
Correct.
They get in. They're not outside players. They're right in the heat of it, and that's going to help them.
Well, Danger can
tremendously.
Danger's that unique Judd-like where he can be contested and then go on to the outside.
He's a jet. But I like. I think Judd had a bit more poise. If we went on that one, I think he just had a bit more skill and a bit more talent.
I think they both.
They're different.
They both could butcher the ball.
Yeah. But who they meet as gained. They're very good at moving the ball.
Correct.
That brings us to players to watch. Who's your player to watch in the Geelong Football Club?
Well, I hope we have some highlights here. I think Jeremy Cameron's the one to watch. As I said, the first 6 or 7 games last year, he was the best player in the league. He can move through the midfield. He can play high half forward. He can get the ball off the half back line and hit targets.
Back. Yeah,
and then he goes forward. He doesn't miss. He's a good mark. Good around his body. He's quick off on the ground for a guy that of his size.
That was a sexy goal against the Blues. Sorry.
Yeah. He destroyed it. That's one of the best games I've ever seen. That he did, and we won that game, and Cameron was best on by far. But when he got almost proclaimed as the best player in the league, he did drop off. He did drop off. So I'd love to see. He's been a gun his whole career. I would love to see a full 23 games, 24 games, whatever, of him just dominating, because he literally could be the most exciting player to watch in the league. He can do it all. He can do it all. That's who to watch for me. Definitely Jeremy Cameron.
Nice. My player to watch would be Paddy Dangerfield. And the reason, I think he had his first season, which would have been really difficult, and I think he's under a bit of pressure, but I think he thrives in that.
Yeah.
First season as the captain, doesn't make finals.
Yeah.
I don't think he strikes me as the sort of player who's going to let that happen again.
Yeah.
And for the first time in 2 decades for the team. I think he'll come out, like you said, he was injury ridden. He missed the 5 games. He only averaged just over 20 disposals. He only kicked his 11 goals for the season. It wasn't a big season for him, but he's a big time player. He can average the 30. He can get his Brownlow.
He's done everything. He's now done it on the biggest stage. He was the best player in 2016. Controversial topic. I actually reckon he should have won the Brownlow in 2017. He missed out on a 40 touch game and kicked a 35 touch game and kicked 3 goals, didn't get votes. And he got rubbed out 3 games early for a sling tackle on Cruiser against my boys. And I generally reckon he was the best player for that home and away season. I know everyone will say Dusty had the greatest year. He did, because Dusty then went and did it in finals.
Yeah.
But I thought Dangerfield was the best player in the comp that year. If he can get back. And then that 2022 season, there was a game against Melbourne. That was the turning point for me. Melbourne were the best side in the comp, and they went down to Geelong, and everyone was talking about Petrarca and Oliver, the new best players in the league. Geelong hadn't won their flag. And Paddy just sort of reminded everyone, he wasn't in the greatest form, reminded everyone who he was. And for that stress for the second half of 2022, his final series and then his grand final, as good as Isaac Smith was, if you look at his box score, 32 touches, 3 goals, you'd think Norm Smith medal, and he deserved it. But Danger, 28 touches, the amount of goal involvements, I think it was 14 goal involvements. And it was just that Geelong, what I was saying before, had so much history of just getting destroyed in first quarters and finals. That grand final, he was on from the get-go.
Yeah, he set the tone. And that's what I think he'll be the player to watch. I think he has a point to prove too. He's at the first season Joel Selwood had an epic career and an epic captaincy. He was the spirit, he was the heart and warrior for the squad. Danger can be that. Danger is that, and he's that wrecking ball that can come through and just absolutely set that tone. Like you said, he's done it at 2022 grand final. I think this year he has to come out and absolutely set the tone from day one. And that brings us into the fixture for the Geelong Football Club. Johnny, do you want to run through that for everyone listening?
So they've got the Saints to start off. Well, they've got the bye for the opening round, but round 1 they've got St Kilda, who they sort of were playing last year, for a slight chance in the 8, which they lost. Then they have Adelaide in Adelaide, which is, as we've spoken about, that's going to be hard. But then they've got Hawthorn, Bulldogs, and North Melbourne before they play Brisbane. So after round 5. They should be 4-1. They should be 4-1.
Yeah.
So that's a good start.
Yeah. After that, though, they do play Brisbane, Carlton, Melbourne, Port, Gold Coast, GWS.
Just shows how important those first 5 games are.
Yeah. If they can come out swinging, get you 4-1.
Yeah.
I think they'll be in a good position, and I think they'll have a lot of confidence leading into those other games.
Yeah.
If they come out the other way, they're a team that, they're back against the wall. That brings me to... Where are they done?
the
Where's
question.
the pass mark? Where do they need to be? Where do you see them finishing this year? What's the prediction?
I think they'll finish, between they'll finish in the bottom half of the top 8, so between 5th and 8th. A pass mark though for a club like Geelong, with the list that they've got and their internal, standards, is top 4.
Yeah,
That's a pass mark for Geelong. They if they don't make the top 4, they won't be happy with that. So top 4 for me is a pass mark for the Cats. Are we reading this wrong? That they just drop off completely, and that will be the actual end of the Geelong era as we've known it. They've had 2 or 3 different sides in that era. I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's going through that list, there's too much firepower and star level, I guess, players on the side. I think they'll be in the top 8. I wouldn't surprise me if they made top 4. I don't think they're better than Carlton, Collingwood, Brisbane, but they certainly, with teams like Melbourne, Adelaide, Port Adelaide, like at their best, they'll beat them. So, top 4 is pass mark.
So the hard thing is, my prediction at the start of the year, I had them outside of the 8. Looking at where they're at with their squad, their inclusions, their outs, they've lost. They haven't lost. Obviously, they lost Isaac Smith. That's a big out.
Yeah, that's a big out.
In my opinion, I actually really liked Menegola.
No, Menegola was good, but he was at the end.
Yeah, he was at the end too.
It was time. I think they got rid of getting rid of Radaglia was a fantastic move.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. Port Adelaide are going to find out the hard way. I've been very consistent on him.
100%. I think the inclusion of O'Sullivan, that'll help their backline tremendously. I think they need that. De Koning's too young to be expected to play against the number 1 forward who's going to have a lot of size on him. But for the pass mark, I had them outside the 8. I think if they can just get inside the 8, I think that's where that after their season, the expectation for them though, and for their club, they definitely need to be making the finals. If they are not, they are done, because I don't see Hawkins giving another year after this. Yeah,
I can't see Hawkins coming back. Dangerfield might, but Hawkins definitely. If they don't play finals, I think Hawkins
will put the boots up, and as you would, you've had an amazing career. Outside of that, I think if they make that, like you said, 5th to 8th, I would say, that's sort of where I sit them now, looking at their squad and fully analysing prior to doing the AFL prediction. I didn't realise they were going to be in full swing, have everyone back. Now I'm looking at it going, no, you know what? If they technically don't make the top 4, based on their current list and based on the research we've done, it's kind of a shit season for them. But like I said, if they're a very old squad, so they're injury prone, and that can really hinder a squad, especially if you're in and out of a team.
Yeah, and I think what I didn't address is throughout his whole tenure, Chris Scott has been horrible with selection integrity. He plays his favourites, which is why, O'Connor getting a gig, Colladajny getting a gig. You've recruited some good players here. If these guys don't perform straight away, you give those kids a go.
100%. Well, they need to. Now's the time, because at the moment, if they don't put the legs into the players at a young age, those players will go somewhere else. And then what are they going to be left with? An old team. And then the team who starts to retire, then they're going to have to rebuild. You may as well, while you've got the experienced talent there, get the young guys in, get the legs running, get them experienced and bring them up with them, so that when those old guys do leave, they're in a position that they're actually ready to take it over.
Yeah, and I just can't see him winning a premiership with O'Connor. Even though they have done it, even though
one player.
We're
talking NBA now.
Even though they have done it before, they're 2 years older from that premiership now. So they've recruited. I think they've recruited pretty well.
Yep. No, all very good, guys. That wraps up. Is there anything else you had to add onto the Geelong?
Please leave a comment. What you think? Do you think? Where do you think the Cats will finish? And are they done?
Yeah.
And what your thoughts are? If you've got anything to that you didn't agree with us or did agree with us, please leave us a comment.
Awesome, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. By the way, a quick little announcement, 100 subscribers. We actually can't believe it. We're two dummies sitting here and you guys are actually listening. It's pretty epic and we appreciate the 102 of you that are out there following our journey, and we're going to keep building this, keep making this amazing. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and like, subscribe, and
Ring the fucking bell.
see you guys in the next one.
See you later.